had a rotten time at school. I'm dyslexic and I have dyslexic children, and I just remember what it's like struggling in the classroom, so I suppose that's why I'm very keen to make sure that children don't suffer in the way that I did.
Head teacher Katie Brierly's school days experience led her to develop a passion for handwriting, a passion she's translated into a whole school policy, which has real benefits for special needs pupils.
The SEN children, yes, they find it difficult at first, but as long as you keep going with it and you just practice that daily 5–10 minutes, they can do it. You know, my 2 SEN children use beautiful entry and exit strokes on their letters.
Handwriting is a critical skill for special needs pupils, and while the whole school benefits from the policy, experts like the National Handwriting Association believe that special needs pupils derive additional benefits from being taught good handwriting skills.
They place a great deal of emphasis on handwriting because they know how much it contributes to the process of the children being able to produce work.
This programme looks at how the leadership and staff of North Owram Primary School near Halifax in West Yorkshire operate their handwriting policy. It's one which can be duplicated by other schools.
There are no financial costs to it at all, and there's no scheme to be bought. All the resources are made by us.
But why is handwriting so important for special needs pupils?
It certainly can be a limiting factor. Some children have to think very hard about every letter that they're going to write. They forget what they want to write. They forget the sentence, even though they had it in mind, because they've got to think really hard. What letters? How do I spell the word? And how do I write these particular letters? And your memory can't hold that much information, so the composition actually suffers.
And
the policy has 3 main planks. Pupils are taught to write in a cursive script.
Let me try it one more time. You watching? And all around the orange. Have a go. What you're going to do?
They're taught in short, punchy 10-minute blocks.
You're going to watch. How many letters do I need to write the sound I?
3?
I need 3 letters. Yeah, well done. Yeah.
And teachers use multisensory and other fun techniques to reinforce learning.
If you give it a shake, it'll disappear. And now try and make it even bigger. That's lovely.
The head decided to introduce a system of teaching handwriting based on cursive script, at least in part, because it has significant benefits for SEN pupils.
If you could sort them out so they haven't really got space.
When I first came to the school, there seemed to be 2 methods of handwriting, two different schemes. The first in the infants was a printing method. When they got into year 3, they were then taught how to join their handwriting, and a scheme called CRIPS was used. And I've always felt that we make handwriting extremely difficult for children, particularly for children with SEN. I did a diploma in specific learning difficulties, and this was an area that I studied quite substantially. And I've always felt that cursive writing should be taught from the very start for a number of reasons. One is because it's consistent then, all the way through the school. You're not being taught 2 different ways of doing something. And another because research shows that it really aids with the learning of spelling, particularly for children who have difficulty in learning spelling patterns.
Night, night. Night, night, bright, bright.
And another reason is because every letter starts on the line. You're not having to remember which letter starts where and how to form it, because every letter is the same. So I think particularly with special needs children, they need to know, they need some consistency. And I think it's confusing if you're putting lots and lots of different methods in front of them.
Learning cursive script is, say the experts, an excellent way for SEN pupils to acquire handwriting skills.
It enables the hand to just flow from one letter to the other. It's very important to develop an automatic approach to writing, to letter formation and producing the letters in the first instance, because unless you have that automaticity, you really do have to think about how to write each letter.
Let me turn around.
One way to prevent pupils becoming bored by handwriting practice is to teach it in 10-minute blocks. Year 2 teacher Tamara Davis is a fan of the little but often approach.
My SEN children in this class really struggle with concentration. So when we do handwriting, we concentrate on 10 minutes. 10 minutes here and there, because you don't want to bore them, and then that puts them off. You know, we really try and make it as quick and as snappy as possible. Fingers? We just do a little bit of practice, you know, 5 minutes every day, and then we'll have like one handwriting session a week. And it's just going over sounds and letters that they're familiar with and reinforcing that. Over the year, you see that confidence. And then by the end of the year, the lower ability children will have started joining up. And they will be able to then join in with the rest of the class. And it's really nice to mix up the partners again, so that, you know, one of the more able children can help one of the less able with their joining up. And they work really well. Right, everybody.
And of course, making the whole thing fun helps too.
Stand up, sit down, show me your fingers. You should be sitting down.
This is where a multi-sensory approach seems effective, particularly in Year 1.
Look at what you're doing. There'll be a number of different ways the children can practice their letters. There'll be sand for them to write in. When they put their finger in the sand, it will disappear so they can see their letter, and give it a shake and they can write it again.
Down her hair and give her a curl.
Good girl, that's lovely. There's carpet, which is a bumpy texture, so they can feel the letter as they write it. And there's whiteboards and large paper and big fat pens, so they can really practice doing some nice big letters and not forgetting entry and exit strokes. And round the apple and down the leaf. Okay, you try. If one child prefers writing with small pens and very precise, that's fine, it's covered. If they need a bit more support, they need to write big, they need to start that way, it's all covered, so every child is getting what they need.
We follow the multisensory approach right through, and that starts initially in reception. So basically, I mean, the lessons are structured pretty much the same, but obviously we adapt them for the children, individual children, to meet their needs in the lessons.
E, I, O. I model the sound to the children, and the first few times I do it, I encourage them just to watch. So they're seeing the pattern, they're seeing the direction of movements, and then we use magic pencils. So we're forming the letters as big as possible, because that helps children get the correct direction. Right. Get your magic pencil then, and start at the bottom. Right, we're going to follow. Everybody's going to be doing the same thing. You ready? And nice loopy tail, nice tall letter, and finish with a flick. Beautiful. We then move on to buddy backs. Buddy backs is just that multi-sensory approach. Right, what I want you to do now is we are going to practice writing this sound on our buddies. It's a really good way of getting the children to practice in a fun way, rather than just going straight to their books. Let's do a little bit of multisensory first, and then we move on to the more structured practice with paper and pencil.
The school's handwriting policy also emphasises regular assessment.
Once every half term, we will ask the children to do an independent piece of writing, which we will then mark, annotate and level. New groups are formed, and we can compare writing between the two classes. And my colleague and I will meet every week to come up with new objectives and new challenges, and we will set the same targets as well. So both classes are working towards the same objectives. But what my class are doing is they're doing a normal piece of writing and going back to single individual letters. So I think between us, it's giving them lots of encouragement to have a go and join it up.
At the very beginning, when we first started to assess every half term, we involved a lot of stakeholders, and I would get involved as well. Now it tends to be year group teachers and teaching assistants looking at the work together. I keep an overview of it, and our strategic leader for core subjects will also keep an overview as well. But other than that, really it's up to the year group teachers.
We can pick the book up and we can see from nursery, because they do it in nursery, where you know, the progress, how they've progressed, if they haven't progressed, and where we need to then look at our planning, look at our teaching, and you know, it may be that for many of our SEN children that the more formal approach that happens as we move further through Key Stage 1 isn't always appropriate, and we need to move back and take a step back for those children sometimes.
Thank you, Louis. Going to have a practice with your buddy.
Policy also encourages Year 1 and Year 2 teachers to work together as far as possible.
The teamwork is essential, really, so that we both know that we're doing the same in each of the Year 1 classes. We do our planning together.
We do.
You know, for the curriculum, but handwriting is something that, well, we both, as I mentioned before, we both carry out similar activities in class, but obviously it depends on the children and the individuals that we have in our own class, and we have to meet their needs specifically. But we do find working together as a team particularly helpful because we can bounce ideas from each other. And again, as a whole Key Stage, working as a team, we can make sure we have the progression from reception right through to Year 2.
What's this one? What's this one? Good.
Teaching staff also work closely with support staff, particularly on pupil grouping.
I do have a range of ability in the class. I've got my more able group and my middle ability group, which I do the handwriting with. My lower ability group aren't yet ready to join letters together, so they actually work with my teaching assistant in a small group situation, which is much better for them, concentration-wise, and what they're focusing on.
That was better, well done, brilliant.
And what she does is she takes 2 groups of children, so she'll work with one group 2.5 days a week and the other group 2.5 days a week, and she incorporates the handwriting within a reading and writing structured programme that we're following.
Have a go and see if you can get it about the same height as mine, up to about there, look.
So it does work really well. We both know what we're doing and we plan together as well.
The policy's now been running for several years. Do the teachers believe it has real benefits?
It's fabulous to have something so structured because you know exactly where the children are. With regard to the SEN pupils, they are following exactly the same programme as everybody else, but what's really useful is you can just take it back to their level. So you know exactly what the rest of your class have done, you know exactly where your SEN children are, and you can take it back to work that maybe is more suitable for a Year 1 child, but within your Year 2 classroom, which is great for them, because it still keeps their confidence that they're working with their peers.
The handwriting is dramatically changed across the school. I think the standard is very high. If you look around the walls at children's handwriting, it's really pretty good, pretty good.
Cursive handwriting, yes, it's tough to get into. The first year we did it, we lasted about half a term and it was like, no, they can't do it, they're really struggling. And the following year we said, right, that's not an excuse this year, we're going to do it, we're going to see how long it takes, and as long as you keep it quick and short and pacey, particularly with the younger children, they click onto it. And you know, if you get beautiful joined up writing at the start of Year 2, it's worth it. You've just got to keep going, plug on with it and just get there.